Hey guys, take 3. Technical difficulties, all good. Monday, welcome to Monday, the day after the triumphal entry. What a good message that was yesterday, or good content anyways. Just thinking about our King, how he came into the city with all authority, yet showing us that he is humble and loving. And now we're into Monday, so officially getting into Holy Week. And before I read to you this section, I just wanted to kind of paint a quick picture of how crowded Jerusalem was during this Holy Week that we're celebrating. In all of Israel at that time, there was probably 2 million people. And up to half the nation would come to Jerusalem for these big feasts, especially Passover, celebrating the Exodus from Egypt when the angel of the Lord passed over their homes, when they sprinkled the blood of the lambs on their doorposts. And so every year they celebrated this great deliverance of God with this meal, the Passover meal. And Jesus is going to show us in the raddest way ever that he is the Passover lamb. As they are sacrificing the lambs in the temple to cover people's sins for the year, Jesus will be paying the debt of sin and death for everyone hanging on the cross as the Passover lamb for the whole world. The imagery is insane, and it's totally on purpose that God did that. But so you have to think this week, there would have been somewhere between 250,000 to 1 million people in the city. And that is tight, shoulder to shoulder. You're going to cross paths with people. And it's good to keep that in mind, because as we see this even today when Jesus goes onto the Temple Mount, how many people would have been there? How many people would have seen this? I think it's like shopping on Black Friday. You're just going to see people. That's the day that everybody is out. And I say shopping because this was the biggest so Black Friday, one of the biggest money-making days for our culture. This week was one of the biggest money-making thing in Jerusalem. Town was swelled. The roads were packed. It was like this was tourist week, and they wanted to capitalize. How did they capitalize? Well, check this out. The book of Mark, chapter 11, verse 12. On the following day, when they came from Bethany, so from Bethany again, Jesus was hungry. And seeing in the distance a fig tree, he went to see if he could find anything on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. And he said to it, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." And his disciples heard it. Yes, Jesus got hangry. Verse 15, and they came to Jerusalem. There's a point behind that. I'll get to it. And then they came to Jerusalem, and he entered the temple. Here we go. And he began to drive out those who sold and those who bought in the temple. And he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. Okay. People would come during this week to the temple. They would bring their sacrifice. They had sacrifice inspectors that would look at it and say if someone's made the cut, if someone didn't. And if it didn't, they would say, lucky for you, we have some certified, perfect sacrifices right over here. We'll take that one off your hands, it's no good, but these are guaranteed good. You bought them on the Temple Mount. Look, they have the stamp of approval on there, and we'll sell them to you. And it says that there were money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. So they would take them, but since you're buying it at the Temple Mount, you got to pay Temple Mount prices. So they were ripping people off. And Jesus was, to say that he was not happy about this is an understatement, because it says he flipped out. And he didn't gently overturn the tables. The text tells us that he was flipping the tables in the air. This is the second time that Jesus drove people off the Temple Mount. It says the first time when he was with his disciples that he sat down and he says he fashioned a whip. And when he had braided the whip, he drove them out. Imagine watching Jesus sit down and start braiding something. His disciples are like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm finna show you what I'm doing. He gets up and just starts cracking the whip on fools. It says here that he started throwing over tables. And this is what he said. He said, was it not written? Is it not written, my house shall be called a house of prayer for all the nations, but you have made it a den of robbers. So on Monday, this second day of the week, Jesus makes it very clear that he has authority. He has ultimate authority. He has authority to judge a tree that doesn't produce fruit. In the same way, he has authority to judge these people with their fruitless acts. They're taking advantage of people, and he's like, that is not how the kingdom is. Could we take that as for us now? That we would never look to take advantage of people, but that we would want to be those that welcome people that are seeking to find God, for all nations, a house of prayer, those that would come seeking to know Jesus more. May we just be convicted by this, that nothing that we do would hinder people from coming to Jesus. And the chief priests and the scribes heard it, and they were seeking a way to destroy him. Already tension was thick. They were like, man, he's wrecking everything. We've been waiting all year to make this money, and now here's Jesus wrecking everything. We got to do something. We got to get rid of him. But they feared him, it says, because all the crowd was astonished at his teaching. There was something about him. It's because he was God in human flesh. His words are not normal words. They have a weight, they have life, they have authority. And when evening came, they went out of the city. So there's Monday in Holy Week, and I look forward to picking this back up tomorrow. Have a good afternoon, you guys. Love you. Peace.